Abuelita, soy tu nieto y ya llegué.
Hello, everybody. We're back with Cantina MX Football Podcast. La Cumbia continues. We have quite a bit to talk about tonight. Liga MX results that were a bit shocking. We also have World Cup qualifiers coming up on Thursday with Jamaica and Mexico. And some comments from some of the players and ex-players about El Azteca. But before I go any further, let me welcome Joel to the show tonight. Joel, how are we doing?
The type of pot I like,
Absolutely. We had some pretty shocking results in week 3 of Liga MX, and won't even really be able to digest that because we're already going to get ready for World Cup qualifiers. This is the big 3 matches we got coming, with Mexico having to go on the road again for the 4th consecutive time against Jamaica. And then they'll return to Mexico and play against Costa Rica and Panama behind closed doors. So we have a lot going on this week.
Yes, and already the rumors, the rumor mill, and that's Tata. This could be his last 2 games with Mexico.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about how he had asked the locker room if he should resign. I don't know how much of this I believe, though. I don't think a coach would flat out say that to their players.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. I mean, and I think it's just a lot of clickbait. There's this website. I never click on it, but it keeps popping up on my feed.
The Athletic?
No, it's another one, dude. It's a Mexican site. And I'm sure they're paying Google or whoever. And it keeps popping up on my feed, and I never click on it. But I always look at the headline, and the headline was the one player that would return once I think they had Jimmy Lozano picture once the new coach takes over the 3.
Oh.
And then they had pictures of I think Vela, Chicharo, and 2 other guys. But I'm like, dude, these guys really think that if Tata gets sacked, that they would put Jimmy Lozano? I mean, that's just doesn't make any sense at all. If anyone that has followed El Tri long enough, when they go for a bombero, that's what they call the coach that comes in to put out the fire. they always go for a known, someone known,
experienced.
Yes, known, experience. Right now, the 2 main candidates would be Piojo.
Again?
He did it once. Well, I mean, you have to think of what coaches have been in that position. Who has come to help, Mexico qualify and then had a good World Cup?
In my lifetime, it's been Aguirre and Piojo.
Exactly. And those will be the 2 main guys.
Oh, man.
Maybe Nacho, but that would be only if the other 2 don't take the job.
It would have to be a coach that's in really good form. What about Tuca? You think they would call up Tuca again?
They could, but he might this time. I mean, I think he's no longer has that cushy Tigres money. I'm sure he's getting good coin at Juarez. But yeah, Tuca definitely. I just didn't mention him because when he had the opportunity, he didn't take it. Again, he was at Tigres and He was just making, driving that Ferrari, making bank. He obviously, I don't think he has that type of money, but I mean, he now has.
You know,
I'm sure he's amassed a small fortune where he just doesn't care too much about getting paid.
it reminds me of this episode of The Office. I don't know if you watched that show, but it's like the manager quits and they have to fill in the spot, and the new owner of the business is like, well, who's been here the longest? We'll just put them in charge. And everybody immediately is like, I don't think that's a good idea, because the guy that had been there the longest is Creed, and that guy, like, was kind of sketchy, and he's been there forever, but not the guy you want in charge. So it's like right now, if shit hits the wall and you lose against Jamaica and you lose the 2 games at home, they're like, all right, so who's been in Liga MX the longest? Let's just put him in charge.
Yeah,
and,
no, I wouldn't be like that.
And I guess that would be Tuca, right? He's been like, who's been in Liga MX the longest right now? It's probably him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started coaching before Aguirre started coaching a bit after. Yeah, but I mean, these guys aren't sketch. They're proven. All of them have won league titles. Been at the World Cup. Tuca was at the World Cup. He didn't coach it, but he was Mejia Barón assistant coach.
Oh, I didn't know
in
that.
'94. Yeah, '94. So he's been he's been part of that process, and well, he's coached some games now. So there's that, of course.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the qualifiers since we're on the topic right now, but obviously we have those days where the press has access to the players and the coaches, and Hector Herrera had something to say about El Azteca. He said El Azteca no pesa. He says that it holds no weight anymore. It's not as intimidating as it used to be, and that they should look into maybe playing their World Cup qualifying matches in other arenas, such as the Rayado Stadium, or Jalisco would be great, or even El Omni Life. But I agree. I feel like El Azteca, it's not as intimidating as it used to be. We don't really hold like that record anymore where nobody could beat us. Like,
yeah.
It's like like that Sparta movie where like they finally crack the wall and you're like, whoa, how'd you do that? Like these guys are actually mortals. Like, what? They bleed too?
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about this here before, and one of the obvious reasons has been that they stopped playing at they would play like a midday, like 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And so when you combine the heat with the smog, that would really, put a hurt on the other teams. And I think that's been one of the things that has been favorable for the rivals. That it's made it easier for them. They don't have to struggle with those things anymore.
Another thing too is most of our players now are in Europe, so they're not acclimated to the altitude anymore, and they're also at a disadvantage.
Yeah, that is true. So those two things, and so why would Mex move? And the obvious is television. To put them at a more prime time. So instead of Selección game used to be at 10 or 12 a.m. you would see the World Cup qualifying match. Now they're at like 7 p.m. or.
Yeah, but so who are they catering to? Because in Mexico,
well, here, right here behind me, us.
Well, it was kind of like a rhetorical question because in Mexico, In
Yes.
Mexico, like they will not even schedule people to work around a Mexican qualifying match because they know like no one's gonna be working, everyone's gonna be watching the game. So are you telling me that the influence of everybody here in the States is that large where they're willing to accommodate our
Yes.
schedule?
Yes.
That is
It's
insane.
yeah. Well, and then you see, it's because of all the sponsors and all the money that's coming in. So the TV money, the sponsorship money, from with all the commercials that we're watching, that's what has made, Mexico playing here and why they play so many games. That's what made FMF so rich. That people complain about the moleros and whatnot, but it's allowed them to do so much with the team. I know people aren't satisfied because they just get to the second round. But I mean, if you compare Mex to majority of teams, they're in a very good place because very few teams at least are that consistent as Mexico is, of qualifying to the World Cup. Of At the World Cup, they at least make it to the second, to the second stage. Because you have teams that would go to the World Cup, have a bad round, and then not qualify again. You
Yeah.
could go 4, 8 years without seeing your team at the World Cup. So yeah, Mex fans are spoiled in a way because they got used to it to the point where you're just expected. They just expect the team to automatically qualify. Um,
Yeah, to add to
but
that,
but but wait,
the
let me just. I went off, Jaime. Let
yeah,
me
go.
let me add really quick. So obviously, all that money coming in from sponsors, and that's been the big reason why the what is it, the goal kick chant, the puto chant, is why there's so much pressure because the pressure goes to the sponsors that then they put the sponsors go and they put it on FIFA. FIFA then goes and throws it on Mexico, and that's where it comes from. It's the sponsorships. They just don't want to be associated with something
AT&T, Home
that's
Depot.
being yeah, because we saw, right, Jaime, recently with Sevilla.
Yeah, Sevilla officially announced Tecatito Corona with a meme that's been going around Twitter quite a bit, and it's one of the Simpsons characters, and it's like, "Ya llegamos, putos," you know. And this is like the official like Twitter handle of Sevilla, okay? And with the verified badge and everything, and even they are embracing the whole like, the meme and the acknowledging like the everybody that hops on Twitter and tweets every time like Betis plays with meten a Lainez or ya llegamos, it's like it's just like a known thing now.
Yeah, and as we saw from there, um, nothing happened. No fines, no nothing. You know, same word, same word, and it's well, because then it's not the same thing, So it's all tied here to the U.S.
Yeah, and I had to see who was their main sponsor. I looked them up. It's Naga. They are a leading social investing platform in Germany with a global community of over 1 million users. So I don't know if they're happy about that tweet, but
They don't care, dude. I'm
yeah,
telling you, it's all from the U.S. and it's like it's just people that are imposing their culture. They're saying, okay, this is what we think the word means, and they're just going with it. And then
yeah,
they're saying because we think the word means this, then if you use it, you're a homophobe or you're anti this or
yeah.
whatever. And that's where it's coming from ultimately. So because like I'm saying, if those sponsors aren't there, dude, no, FIFA wouldn't care, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
And they're trying to clean up the game because they were caught with that scandal of, match fixing and all that. And they're trying to clean up their image, and they can't have this going on in this progressive world that we live in. They can't have, they're trying to stop racism in football and all that. So it's just, again, they're trying to clean up the game, but it's like there's so much other worse shit that's happening.
Get way worse,
Like
man.
in Qatar, like the fact that these stadiums are being built by like slaves and stuff. Like, come on, man. You're gonna like really try and be like the moral police here with the shit that you guys are doing. Like, come on. But that's neither here nor there. I wanted to add to what you mentioned earlier about we expect Mexico to qualify to every World Cup. They were the raffle. I don't know how it works, if it's a raffle or a lottery, but FIFA has officially started selling tickets to the World Cup, and Mexico was number 3 as far as the most fans that bought tickets.
Who was was one and two?
I think number 1 was Brazil, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
Brazilians, man. Well, Brazil, I think, yeah, they have a pretty big population. I don't know, I forgot how much, but I'm pretty sure they're way more than in Mexico. Maybe the U.S. would be first.
I don't think so.
Oh, I would just assume it, Jaime.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but still pretty interesting. As far as like the actual matches go, the players that they called up are unfortunately the usual suspects. Tata insisting on calling up 4 goalies, and none of them are young, which is unfortunate. But it just goes to show how we really don't have much of a pool to choose from. Like the fact that fans are insisting on calling up a player who has yet to play senior professional football. I'm talking about Marcelo Flores. Like the fact that
yeah,
they're like
scared he
upset.
might go to Canada.
Huh?
There's some of them are scared that he might choose Canada.
Yeah.
Because he's only played friendlies, so yeah, and the only way you can't is if you play like an official game uh, with the senior team, because I think you're allowed to play with the youth. They kind of changed the rules a bit, but technically he hasn't played any official games with Selección Mexico.
Yeah, he played the friendly in Austin. That's about it. But don't freak out, guys. He was called up for the under 20. So he will be playing against Costa Rica.
Well, there's that.
He's still in their plans. I don't understand why everyone's like, yeah, let's, these crucial 3 matches to determine if we make it to the World Cup. Let's throw in a kid with like no experience.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They feel that if Canada were to say, come over here, it'll be automatic that he would be like, all right, F it, I'm going for the leave. But yeah, I don't see it happening. I think he knows. I think not that he knows, but I'm pretty sure he feels like he feels more close to Mexico.
Yeah, I think we've kind of pulled out the red carpet, and I was at the game in Austin, and he was one of the last players to actually go back into the locker room. He stayed after the game and hung out with the fans, signed autographs, took selfies. So, he's loving it. He's loving this whole experience.
He's loving the limelight, yeah. And yeah, he's not really going to get that at
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, this list, Cota, Ochoa, Orozco, and Talavera is just like all these players are over the age of 30. Really disappointing that they didn't give, a young goalkeeper at least like a chance. You're calling up 4, at least give somebody under the age of 30 a chance. Defenders, Araujo from LA Galaxy. I don't really know him that well, but he was included on the list. Unfortunately, Gallardo and Chaka continue to be the usual suspects. Not sure what agent they have or what deal they had with Tata, but man, they continue to get called up despite not being the best out there. And what else in the midfield? Everything's fine. Diego Lainez gets called up even though he really hasn't played for Betis. And there's even a rumor about him getting loaned out to Rayo Vallecano just to get some minutes. So
Yeah, I heard a rumor that there was like that he was imposed on Tata, that they just had him, they threw it on him, And I could see in in a way I could see like if FMF wants to help him or help his career, because you know we saw it similar with Giovanni, where he didn't he wasn't getting enough playing time, but the selección kept calling him. But he was always a better selección player than club player.
Jonah
And I think
or Gio?
no, Gio,
Oh
Gio.
yeah, Gio. Yeah, he was getting no minutes over there in Tottenham, and
And they would call him, and he would come and play, and he had really good games and tournaments. But I mean, even if true, I'm all for it because he is a really good talent, and if the selección could help him. Even though I'm gonna contradict myself, I don't think the selección be should be a for helping to help you. It's not there for that. But like you said earlier, there's not much to call from, and so with that in mind, then you do need to help out some of your more talented players.
I just can't think of any other selección where we call up players that are not in form. It's just crazy, man. Like it's bananas. But we'll see how it goes against Jamaica. Uh I don't know, man. I feel like it smells like a draw to me, but what do you think?
So where is this game at? Is it at Azteca?
No, this is in Jamaica.
Oh damn, it's a tough game. Uh,
And
I do think
Jamaica's in I think in last place. No, they're in sixth place with 7 points. Mexico has 14.
yeah, they were they started really bad. I think how many games they went without winning. I think they went like 4 or 5 games. I don't remember how many.
Let me
I think they
see.
couldn't win.
We actually that was our first game was against Jamaica 2-1. We won, and that was like just barely. Like Henry Martin had to score in the 89th minute. We're about to draw that game. So that was their first game. And then from there they lost to Panama 3-0, tied with Costa Rica, lost to US, tied with Canada, and then they finally got their win against Honduras. So that's
Yeah,
one,
so
two, three, four, five. That's 5 games.
they went a few without being able to win. I do think and that's the thing though. Like we could see that we could say, oh, they're kind of weak, but then at the same time, these teams when they play Mexico, they go balls to the wall because you know for the region, Mexico is pretty much the Brazil of the region. They're the team to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Just if they know that they'll make the headlines if they beat Mexico, they know that that's who they go after. Um, so you always see some of these teams overperform, and that's what it's always been the difficult thing. It's and then Mexico does the same when they play Brazil. They always for the most part, the majority of the time they always go and they play out of their minds. I'll be happy with the draw, Jaime.
Yeah,
I'll be
Kingston
happy with
just
the
seems
draw.
like a tough place to win. Apart from the 3-0 loss to Panama, all the rest of their matches at home have been draws against US, Canada, and El Salvador. So
Yeah, and I don't know what the temperature's like. Could be humid. I don't. I'm not sure yet. That
it's
plays that plays a role too. And like you were saying, with some of these players now that are more used to playing in Europe, and it's a lot of night games or in more cold weather. Now you're going to like humid places, and it does have its, it will affect you to a certain extent. Um, yeah, Mex obviously has our favorites, and they have what it takes to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw, and that wouldn't be a bad result.
Yeah. So again, three crucial matches: Jamaica, Costa Rica, and Panama. If Mexico doesn't get like at least 7 points out of this, like two victories, uh, do you think this could be the end of Tata's reign, or?
Well, you said at least seven. I think he could be good with five. 5 points. I think if okay, so we have to see the scenarios. So if Mexico loses,
Ooh,
if they lose to Jamaica, then they will be under pressure to win the next two games. Definitely won't be able to lose any of those, because then the media is gonna start with the sky is falling, and it's gonna be on full out assault until the next three game. But yeah, I think it could change, and I think if he gets a draw and then a win, so I think going into the last game, there won't be as much pressure, and of course we have to see how the standings are going to change. I know, I believe they are just 1 point from first place. What is it, 1 point or two?
Canada has 16 points. They're in first. USA has 15. Mexico and Panama both have 14 points.
Okay, 2 points. So they're just 2 points, which is, it's not that much of a difference. So I do think, but of course, you want Mexico to finish top three, and there should be that pressure to be that top three. But I think pressure to be, is different than like, oh, this isn't working because you couldn't beat this team, and f it all. It's not like they're 6 points behind; they're just 2 points, and they lost them in a tough schedule. Going up against the two best teams and on the road.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly you know messing up at home. That's the other thing that has to be taken into account. And the other thing is that they haven't really been getting outplayed. Like, well, you have teams that they just humiliate you, or they just play you out of the park when you're like, damn, dude, you know, it's been fairly even games, games where Mex failed to score their chances. You know,
Yeah. I will say losing to USA and Canada in the manner in which they did, definitely they just had like a really bad ending to those qualifying matches before they broke off into friendlies. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens on Thursday, 4 o'clock against Jamaica. I want to bring it back to Liga MX because we had some interesting results in the third week. Juarez and San Luis kicked things off, and Juarez ended up winning 1-0. And they're in a good spot. They're in fifth position, and they have, as of today, have acquired Carlos Fierro, free agent.
that's right. Return from the Quakes, um, former Chivas, and and as you said, Tuca, that's Tuca's team, and of course he's an old wolf, man. He knows what he's doing. Um, so I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah,
I hope we could get the best out of Fierro. Fierro was one of the, he was part of the under 17 squad. They won the
the World Cup.
the under, yeah, the under 17 World Cup,
That's
and
right.
he was one of the better players. He was even tagged as like, when you look at like futuras promesas in some of these magazines, and it kind of went to his head, I guess. This whole and even at Chivas, I think he got there at the wrong time, man, with all the
Well,
revolving coaches, and they never really had something set for him, and then he sort of got lost in the fray. But you know what? He came back, and he got to play with Almeida, and he won. He has he has trophies in his cabinet. People might say he sucks, but this guy has like trophies and medals. So for sucking, that's not that bad. Um, and so I think it's it's
yeah.
good to see that he's getting another chance.
What I'll say about Carlos Fierro, out of all the players that won that World Cup in 2011, he was the most successful. He had uh like after they won the World Cup, he like kickstarted his career at Chivas and ended up having over 153 appearances for the club. So I mean, a lot of these players did not pan out. You think of like Julio Gomez, La Momia. The guy that had he had that
Oh man,
incredible goal and
he
the
hit that. Was it the? It was a
Germany.
bicycle
Yeah,
chilena, right?
it's like that
And
dude's a albañil now. He's over here, making moves over here in the United States. Like he doesn't even play soccer
he's doing
anymore.
construction. Like he was working construction with his
Yeah,
like cuñado, right?
yeah,
He, he had a cool nickname. They nicknamed Chingomez, and I thought that was so awesome. And then we never got to hear Chingomez again. Like he cursed him. Uh, he probably plays some beer league.
yeah.
Sundays you're probably burning people left to right, or he probably doesn't even care to do so. Um, yeah, you're right.
He ended up
No,
he ended up winning a title with obviously with Chivas in 2017, two Copa Mekis with Chivas, one with Querétaro, and ironically, I think that was against us. So yeah, that was, I mean, not an outstanding career. He's only 27, so I mean, there's still plenty of
yeah,
gas left in
I
the
thought
tank.
I thought he was gonna do better at MLS, but he just he never he just didn't do much, you
Yeah,
know.
and he was one of the better played players in San Jose. I think that was a lot of criticism. A lot of the fans are criticizing Almeida because he brought in Alanis, he brought in Chofis, he brought in Fierro, and these guys were, I don't know if they cost them any money as far as the transfers. Probably not, but the salary wages were pretty high for them. So only trophies really panned out, but the Alanis and Fierro, obviously, they're not even at San Jose anymore. So
Yeah, I knew they would keep trophies, um, and I hope he keeps doing good. So best of luck to Fierro. I think if Tuca's getting him, he must see something in him, and because yeah, like you said, he's 27. He still has a good 5 years left. You
that's
know,
crazy, man. I thought he was like older, but
no,
especially considering that he's been in the league since like 20, over 10 years now. He's had a career for over 10 years now. That's crazy.
yeah. I mean, look, I think we can be harsh as fans with players, and we'll say that they suck. And as we've been talking about his career, you, you don't get to do all that if you suck. I think unfair comparison sometimes when we're pointing out all these other players, but maybe he's not as flashy as it was expected, or as doesn't score as much as we thought he would. But again, he's done enough where he's still playing, you know, where he's still getting offers. But I do think he's at the tail end, having been at San Jose and not really doing anything there. I thought like maybe he was gonna end up in Liga de Ascenso, but Juarez took him, which is they've been we've talked about Juarez, how it's a project that's going on from the former Tigres He was, I forget his name, but he was one of the presidents at Tigres. It's big reason they brought Tuca because it was well known guy. So this guy that used to be with Tigres and he's now at Juarez doing his own thing. And of course, he went after, he already has a good coach. And I think they must have seen something on him. And so, but I do hope he pans out.
Yeah.
And we'll see him at Chivas when he's 32. He's 34.
As a bomba refuerza.
He can retire at Chivas.
So Mazatlan lost to Toluca. Looks like Nacho has bounced back. Alexis
2 wins,
Canelo.
that'll be his second win, right?
Yeah. And similar to San Luis, Mazatlan have yet to have any points on the board yet. So San Luis is in last place with 0 points, and Mazatlan in 17th place with 0 points.
Yeah, and San Luis, did they finish their contract with Athletic?
I believe so. They're not.
So they're no longer
They're not
Atletico,
associated with. Yeah, Madrid. I call them Madrid Junior, but it's Atletico Madrid.
So they're no longer Atletico San Luis. They went back. Are they back to their colors? No, they had changed them
Not
for
yet.
a bit.
Not yet. Their away jersey is still like the traditional like blue and like gold, but they still have the stripes. Yeah.
Okay, not bad. Yeah, no, these teams.
We had a snooze fest with Chivas and Gallos. Chivas at home. Oh boy, they just continue to play mediocre football. They were down from the second minute of the game, and it was Alexis Vega that bailed us with another phenomenal free kick. I really hope that Alexis Vega gets the start in Kingston because he has been playing great, and I think he's in better form than some of even the players abroad. So Chivas, yeah, I think we got fooled on that first game of the season, and we're back to reality now with
that big win over the mighty Mazatlan.
Yeah. It was a great way to start the season, but very misleading. And now we're sitting in 9th position with 4 points. And I do have good news for Chivas. Amauri has been asked to join Shark Tank in Mexico.
Oh man! As soon as I saw that, I knew that the memes would soon follow, and they did. I saw a really funny one where they replaced the guy. Oh well, first we should explain what Shark Tank is. Some people may not know. Shark Tank, basically, you have 3 investors, or 5, I think it is, and it's usually people that are kind of well known or very successful, and then people go and they pitch their product ideas to them, and they're like, "Oh, well, I got this thing for gardening, this tool that will make this easy, or this all type of stuff." Everything you can think of, they pitched right there, and then the investors either they pass on it or they will help you, do your product by buying into your company or partnering up. And then sometimes you see between the investors, they do a bidding war to see who gets your product. Sometimes they even join forces. Pretty good show. So the meme is some guy, he's asking Amauri if he wants to invest in Chivas, and they replace the guy's face with the Chivas badge, and then the next picture is Amauri saying, "I'll pass."
What does this guy know anything about business? He inherited Chivas from his dad. He has done nothing he doesn't belong on the show, man. What a joke.
what celebrity stuff, I guess because he's known and there is that. But you you man, talk about like talk about just like bad timing because this is a team that didn't really bring in players. They brought one, but
Exactly.
it was like an exchange. They didn't exactly like
Addition by
put money.
subtraction.
And to see him at where he's investing, where he's going to invest in other businesses, and so yeah, the criticism is going to be there, just like the criticism is there for Leaño for that interview he did. He did it when he said he envisions himself as dominating Liga MX and then going over to Spain and England and winning league titles over there, and then returning to Mexico and winning the World Cup with the national team. And it's like it's good goals to have. I mean, yeah, dream big, but you don't want to say it in the press
It's like,
because
bro,
they're
you
just
keep
gonna
that to
hold that over
yourself,
you.
dog.
And it's gonna follow him like a little black cloud, and it's already biting him in the ass. And we saw this at Chivas with when Vergara first took over the team, and he said, "I'm gonna hire the best coach in the world." That he said that because they had been negotiating with Carlos Bianchi, and you could technically say he was the best in the world because he dominated South America with Boca Juniors. He won the Libertadores, and then he won
Club World
it
Cup.
was in the Club's World Cup back then. It was the Intercontinental Cup, I think, or something like that. But it was the South American champion versus the European, the, the Champions League champion, and he had all those cups, man, and he's like, yeah, I'm bringing over the best coach in the world, and they end up bringing in Yayo de la Torre, and it's just Nestor's cousin, and that dude never lived it down, and it wasn't his fault, but it doesn't matter once it's out there, it's out there.
It's gonna be like that meme where it's like, say the line, Bart. Say the line. I'm
I
gonna win
seen
the
that.
World Cup with Mexico. Ah, like everyone just laughs. Like, dude, you should let your results speak for you because this is just
Yeah,
not. This is not the move, bro.
yeah, no, that was he got ahead of himself right there, man. And I mean, in one, you could say, okay, well, it's good to be confident. It is, but you don't need to throw, you don't need that type of pressure. You don't need to throw it on you and on the team.
What's your take on Liborio Sanchez? He like went on social media and just criticized the shit out of Michele Año, and
Yeah, it seemed like just personal
he
because he
said,
said how
what do you say that he never
he said
played?
that. No, I think we just talked about Querétaro because he said he helped Querétaro beat Chivas, and so he was probably talking about that cup game. And but then he's saying how they brought him back, and then he said that it was like punishment to bring him back because they never played him, and he said that they just tricked him into it, and I was like,
No, I'm talking
you know,
about his comments on Michele Año.
yeah, that's right, because he said Leaño brought him back, I
Oh,
guess he was, and then they didn't play him. They sort of froze him out, so he was blaming Leaño. I don't know if Leaño could bring him back.
no, I think
I don't know.
he said something along the lines like, I can't believe he's coaching Chivas. Like, this guy never played at the professional level. Like, how are you gonna
Oh,
coach?
and that's saltiness because there's been, you know,
There's exceptions to
there's
the
been,
rule, but the criticism is there.
but to Leaño, to his defense, he's been involved in football since he was born. Through his family, the Leaños that own Tecos, and then when he was like 15 or 16, Tecos brought Menotti, and he was just shadowing Menotti, and they even assigned him to be Menotti's Uber driver. Um, so he's always been well connected, and then he got to do all this other stuff. Um,
Oh, to
so
be
that's
privileged and rich And they criticize
So
Chivas
like,
a lot because it's all hijo de papi and all about, like a lot of players that we've had through the ranks, if they hadn't been associated or, son of this person or known this person, like they would have no business in this organization. And I feel like there's a lot of anger there towards, Leaño because what has he done to merit like being the coach of one of the biggest clubs in Mexico? He's done nothing. He has nothing on his resume, man. He's just well connected. Happens to be a good friend
yeah,
of
he,
of,
well,
of
he
Amaudi,
was
and here we are.
he was he was doing the youth, right? The Chivas youth program. So he was in charge of the youth teams. But yeah, I do think he should have coached. Um, I think I was reading like in Argentina, it was an article, and it was talking about why there's so many good coaches that come out of Argentina. And they said in order to get your coaching license over there, it's mandatory that you coach X amount of years, like in lower divisions. And so I think something like that would work. I think if he had coached at least Tapatio, coach Tapatio like 2 years, at least, see what he has, and then taking over the big team. But he had the fast track pass. No, no need for that, dude.
Well, we can't talk about Chivas without talking about the elephant in the room here. America losing to Atlas 2-0. And I had to double check to make sure this was correct, but America are in 14th position with just 1 point. It's very quiet.
Man, yeah, not looking too good for Ame. And there was criticism of Santiago Baños. Santiago Baños, he used to be Piojo Herrera's assistant. And then when they were at America, some way, somehow, he ends up being like a GM, whatever position he got. But it was obviously above Piojo. He became Piojo's boss. So he has a pretty big position over there. And he was getting attacked. He was getting attacked by some news. It was like a show, like a talk show.
On TUDN.
Yeah, that one, which is even surprising. That's the owner station, and they had to apologize, which was kind of dumb because it's like,
El Perro.
why they were saying how we should have talked with Banos first or giving him a chance, but it's like, no, not really. You could have your opinion, and, you shouldn't have to be.
You can't bite the hand that feeds you, Televisa, TUDN, and you can't be criticizing the team.
Yeah, they criticized Banos more than anything, and then there was that they had to apologize
And
and say that
they both copied the same apology and tweeted it. I'm like, dude, at least like
like they were probably forced, and it sounds like just say this, um, because, but yeah, like I guess with the whole team, with the way things are with Solari, and people haven't been too happy with that, even though the team's not really bad. I guess they're just expecting more. But of course, as they should, America fans always used to having the team fighting for the top spots. But at the same time, you go through these, you know, what is it? Uh, Not a proceso. You eventually like have this turnover where you had this team that was doing so good and you had these players. And then eventually it runs out and then you have to like start all over again. We're seeing it with like Real Madrid, with Barcelona, how
Barcelona.
you know they have to find that squad again. It's not easy, and you can. It's also not as easy as just buying the players. because they won't always work out or pan out. So I think that's kind of what's going on with America, where they had this good run, and now they're just struggling to get back to that. But not even struggling bad. It's not like they're finishing at the bottom of the table, or they're getting played off the field. They're just not as consistent as the fans come to expect them to be. I still think they have a pretty good project. So they have a player coming in. I don't know. I just heard it was someone that Solari asked for. So I don't know who that is.
Oh.
Guess he'll surprise us.
There was an Ecuadorian that was made official for Juan Otero, but I don't know if that's him. There was a Spanish player, right? Yeah, it was like a Spanish player.
That guy already came, no?
Oh yeah, I think he already came. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know about bringing some of these unknowns. I think the way they had been doing it, which was very similar to what Bayern Munich would do. They would see who was doing really good in the league, and then they would go after that guy. And America had been doing that for a while too. These players that would do well, and then they would, bring him in. And going a lot of times for the abroad, it's 50-50. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't really do much.
Yeah. One thing I will say though.
Wait, right quick. Sorry, Jaime.
Go ahead.
Just point in reference, because I'll be like, all right, well, like Cabecita was there, man. I mean, dude, I'm still surprised he went to Qatar. That guy's been, he's proven, dude. I think whatever team you put him, he's gonna get you X amount of goals. He's just been, and I think I'm surprised to see the league. I
Let
guess
him go.
because how much they paid. Yeah, I guess if other clubs did bid for him, eventually they couldn't match.
Yeah, I do agree that would have been a classic America, signing a player that's been doing really well, and then you end up going to America. I feel like that was the trajectory for a lot of strikers that were top in Liga MX. But one thing that I will say, kind of related to Liga MX, is over the weekend there was like NFL games, and a lot of the teams that had an incredible regular season, they were the first place team in their division, ended up getting eliminated in the first round. So it's really not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And I know we're like 3 games into the season, and we're seeing some shocking, teams like America being outside of repechaje. But, keep in mind, they do have a game in hand because they weren't able to play. So they still have one more game to catch up with the rest of the league. And, Tigres are in 11th position. But it's Liguilla, man. Like, the name of the game is to get into Liguilla, and anything can happen.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Tigres, because I was one of the teams, that it's Piojo's there, so there's these high expectations for that team because of Piojo, and because it's Tigres, obviously all the money, Piojo and Guignac and whatnot, and yeah, they started slow and they bounced back now with this big win, and I'll say big because it was over Pumas, who have been maybe if it's too early, but they had been one of the better teams of the start of the season. So to get that win is just shows that where Tigres is at.
I saw that game. That was a quite unfortunate turn of events for Pumas. They were leading 1-0, and then come to the last, I would say, 10 minutes of the match, kind of like a freak play there, draws the game 1-1, and you're like, oh, okay, Tigres pulled a point over there, and then no, there was a final play where the referee decides to call a penalty, and Gignac puts it away for the 2-1. So completely flipped the script, and Tigres stole 3 points over there in Seoul, and that was a big, big victory for them because they had a slow start to the season.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I see them. I see them being one of the contenders. I gotta say, the team that is surprising me, that because I had maybe is a Chiva and me talking, because I said Atlas. I didn't expect Atlas to be back in the picture, and well, they're the ones that beat America.
Yep.
And this is their second win, I believe. So 6 points already.
They're undefeated.
And they have a game, I believe, to boot.
No, they played that game. They tied with.
Oh, that was the game.
Yeah, the rematch of the final, Leon and Atlas, and it was just 1-1. And with that, Atlas are in second place with 7 points. Again, undefeated.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so that was I jinxed it, Jaime. I should have said repeat. I should have said they're going for the doblete.
It's a tough thing to do. I mean, not too many teams have ever done it in Mexico, so I don't know if Lightning can strike twice, but it is nice to see that the team that won the championship is still relevant. No campeonitis for them. And Cruz Azul, Cruz Azul also won a title last year, and they're in first place with 7 points. It seems like, their off-season transfers panned out. Uriel Antuna scored again. And they ended up...
He's working out, dude. I said he scored, and I think the match before he gave the assist for the...
Yeah, he did.
For one of the
for
goals.
Charlie. Yeah, so, man. I mean, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Seems like Cruz Azul might have gotten the better end of the deal because Piojo hasn't really done much for Chivas.
Didn't he miss the game due to the...
Yeah, he missed the game. Yeah. It was a pretty entertaining match over there in Monterrey. Cruz Azul up 2-0. And then Rayados tied the game somehow. 2-2. 92nd minute, Funes Mori, and 97th minute by Cesar Montes. And another shocking result, Santos taking it 4-1. Necaxa. 4 goals, man. Usually Santos are decent, but to lose to Necaxa 4-1. Ouch.
And this one I did get it right, Jaime. I said I could see Santos becoming Grupo Orlegi's red-headed stepchild. They're just, it's a small venue.
It's a small market.
And they've been successful for X amount of years, but they haven't really made waves. They haven't really become that much more popular or become, they're almost up there with, like, similar to what happened with Toluca. So dominant to the point where they're like the third team with the most titles, 10 titles, America, Chivas, and Toluca over Cruz Azul and Pumas and the other so-called grandes. And the Diablos Rojos aren't really that popular. At least not like the other 2 teams that I just mentioned, not to that point. And so I think they know that. Grupo Orlegi knows that. And that's what, if Atlas has something like type of a mythicism, I guess you could say, and they just have it. And I can't see if Atlas, becomes as popular as, like, not popular, as successful, as consistent as they did. I could see them being one of the teams that is gonna like just grow in massive popularity. Um, and like, because and we see it with Pachuca too. The other team that they tried so hard to make it like one of the grandes, and they're very consistent, and they won a lot. And it got to the point where they were like putting their South American Cup, putting a star for that cup here, and then in their badge, and then calling, trying to nickname the team El Equipo de Mexico and whatnot. None of that stuff worked. Um, but I can't see it happening with Atlas.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Guadalajara is a big city with a lot of potential, and there's plenty of room for not just one team, not just two. I mean, Guadalajara is big enough to have four teams. And at one
Yeah,
point,
more than that, I mean.
yeah. Well, I mean, like four teams in the first division. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they've had them before. I mean, at one point they had Chivas, Atlas, Tecos, and Leones Negros.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, Leones UADG.
Mm-hmm.
No, wait, Tecos is UDG, and then there's because Leones Negros is also a university.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm getting them confused. But I'm getting the universities confused. But yeah, they had those four teams, and before that they had like Oro and
Universidad de Guadalajara.
that's UDG,
Uh-huh.
and what was Tecos? UADG.
UADG, yeah.
There you go. That A was throwing me off. Um, yeah, you had those teams, and you go further back. There was like Oro and I think Jalisco. I think it was called something Jalisco, but yeah, there's been four teams before. Uh, but you're right. I could say they could host four teams, and but I think Atlas has the what it takes to be like big, like
Well, I think they just.
very popular.
I think Grupo Orlega needs to strike while the iron's hot. Look, you're coming off a
Oh, there,
championship.
yeah.
You have this crazy attention now in Guadalajara. The fans have always been there for Atlas. I will give them that. They have always had loyal fans. They've always, shown up and supported the team. And I feel like, man, if they were to invest a little bit more money into Atlas, they could turn into like the noisy neighbors, kind of like how Manchester United was so dominant for so long, and now, Man City has basically turned Manchester blue. Like they were able to like win the city over, and I don't think that will ever happen because Chivas are too big of a club, and not
Oh, Jaime,
not only that, but
don't say never.
well,
Never say
well,
never.
you're right. Time will tell, but I think like one thing that Chivas will always have and will always make them popular is the fact that they play with only Mexicans. But that being said, I can see the same thing happening, like the same situation in Manchester where Atlas end up becoming a little bit more popular because if they are able to maintain um this type of success, if they start winning titles left and right, man, I could see the city turning black and red. I really could see that happening.
Yeah, and become like the Atlas of old, where they were churning out all these top talent like Osvaldo
Borghetti.
Sanchez and yeah, Rafa Marquez, and you you put in some players in selección, Guardado, the other one to name a few. Um, then that starts giving them more popularity too, because it's like all these top selección players, all these players that are in Europe and are doing good, they're all coming out from Atlas, and then the team at home is doing really good, and all of that stuff begins to add up. And for Chivas, well, they're very inconsistent. So how long can you stay winning a championship every 10 years without other teams catching
Catching
up?
up.
Yeah, so I mean, Atlas, of course, they won't catch up anytime soon, but there are other cups that they could be winning and tournaments, and if they're doing good and putting and taking out, bringing out players and becoming like the base of the selección, because that was Chivas. Remember around '06,
Mm-hmm.
a bit earlier, they were like Chivas was like a top of the world. They were like in Libertadores. They were crushing it. They had like 5 players in the selección. They won the league, so they were tops. They were big in popularity. But man, that's like '06. That's
It's been a while.
they haven't been to that success since that, and that's why. Oh damn, it's like 15 years, Jaime.
It's coming on 16.
That's that's a quinceañera right there, man. That's a long time, and and it that's a long time to go without you know not having none of those things. Um, so so yeah, but I mean, we're talking about super long term. If this were to happen, if Atlas were to become that team, you're looking at like 10 years from now. It would 10 years from now. Um,
Yeah.
it would take that long. And the other thing we should mention, because Grupo Orlegui, or the owner Irarragorri, he has like this big. His vision is to own a team in Europe. So I think that he knows if he can turn Atlas into this, put him in the limelight and be this big popular team. I think that would just give him way more credibility. Because I mean, what he did at Santos is been very good. It's very um, but I think just because the team hasn't grown in popularity, but if he's able to do that, I think it would just open more doors for him.
Yeah.
Especially because being popular, you help capture the American market, and that's just something Santos doesn't really have. But I think Atlas could have it if they do become, like you said, consistent and start winning and doing all these things. Then yeah, there'll be a team that comes to the U.S. and they'll fans would follow them because they just they're like they would be like a fun team to watch.
I was thinking about um that when Atlas won their title and Cruz Azul won their title. I'm like, both of these teams, I went to go cover in San. They had friendlies in San Jose, so I got to see them in preseason, and I would have never guessed either one of those clubs to end up winning. Liga. Like when I saw them in preseason, I'm like, there's, this is going to be another average season for these two clubs, and then they ended up winning titles. So
Yeah, one after the
it's
other.
kind of a trip, to see that, especially after what happened in San Jose with like Cruz Azul and one of the fans going on and sucker punching a player. Like it was crazy. But
Damn.
yeah.
Was it
Um,
was it a Cruz Azul player he sucker punched?
no, San Jose.
Oh, he must have. Damn.
Yeah, it was a fan in a wrestling mask. Yeah, just ran up and sucker punched somebody, and
Oh,
yeah,
that's when Wando gets
yeah,
the guy in a chokehold.
yeah, yep.
Oh, damn. I mean, you got to see 2 shows, man.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Well, we're coming up on the hour mark. We have some. This is gonna be a very exciting week. It's the make or break week for Tata, I think. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yes, I still believe in Tata. I know a lot of fans have lost faith, but I believe in Mr. Martino. I believe in him. I think he's gonna pull through. Uh, so I think I could see him getting 5 points. I see 5 points and Mexico being at a good spot for qualifying.
I hope so, man. I'm not one of those like crab in a bucket type of people. I do hope that Tata gets this locomotive going. I will say who I don't believe in are the players. I feel like for the last couple of I would say for the last year, they've definitely just been coasting. They've been kind of taking these games like lightly.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced that we're calling up the right players. So, I just think that a lot of these players feel comfortable because, they're guaranteed a spot. And it's just like
Yeah.
that's not how it should be.
Yeah, and again, it's like how you said earlier. Mexico just doesn't have that many players to pull from. So yeah, I can see how players get comfortable. There's no there's really not much competition. Someone like just burning their ass, like just waiting for them to mess up or to get that opportunity and take over. And I also I wouldn't be surprised if they got a bit complacent just because they went so long without even losing in the region. They had this really long streak of like just um, I still think if we count the number of defeats against CONCACAF teams, I think it's only a handful.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I'm talking about official games. But yeah, we look, and so I think that sometimes too, it's not like you you went into Honduras or whatnot and you got beaten pretty bad, or you got a beat down where like when we saw Osvaldo trying to tell the players to telling the catrachos to like take it easy. So I think it does get to that point sometimes where it's like they start getting overconfident, I guess.
Yeah. But again, it's like it's the two sides, right? You have players that are sort of being called up on just because of their name and their marketing image and because they've been the usual suspects for a while, but that there also should be a lot of criticism towards players that are, on the bubble that maybe should be playing harder or should be making themselves a little bit more the obvious candidate. So I think, usually in a World Cup year, it's like a very tough job for a coach to just name 23 players. But, Tata has already mentioned this before that he basically has his list ready. And, that's a big slap to the face to any other player, any young prospect that wants to make it to the World Cup. Well, you better go out there and outwork everybody. You better go out in the training pitch and just make yourself the obvious candidate. Like you should be not posting on social media and taking selfies. You should be, doing 100 shots, every fucking night. I just feel like this is a World Cup year. Like you guys need to go out there and like just work your ass off. And quite frankly, from the young players, I'm just not seeing it. And it's just like that's just unfortunately how it's gonna go. Then we're gonna take a bunch of over the hill players that might have a decent showing, but I don't know, man. It just smells like another round of 16 exit for Mexico, even if we get there.
No, well, you said World Cup year. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, and so I do think there's going to be a few players that are going to be, you know, I think they're going to be trying to win win a position in the 23 that will go to the World Cup. So I can see competition picking up.
I hope so, and I hope we see that kind of hunger in these three crucial matches for Mexico. And I'll leave it at that. Want to thank all of our listeners for hopping on. Don't forget, we upload every week. So make sure to follow us on Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And let us know what you guys think of these upcoming matches. Do we feel confident? Do we feel pessimistic? Whatever the case may be, let us know your thoughts. And we'll catch you next week.